Well, hello, everybody. Good evening, and I'm happy to have you here with me tonight. It's a little bit of a late start tonight. Seems my son had a track meet that started at 3:30. I just got home, and it is after 8:30. Le sigh, le scream. So, a little bit later start than I had expected and anticipated and wanted and all of that fun stuff. But at the end of the day, here we are. We're here together, you and me. It has been a week since we have been able to read Breckan and Co.'s Strange Discoveries, Volume 1, The Facility. But we are here now. We'll be able to get through it. Now let's talk a little bit about what happened last time. Where are my summaries? I know they're around. Because you need to know what happened before so you know what to expect tonight. Just in case you happen to be somebody who didn't go and watch them all on the YouTube channel. All available for you, youtube.com/@SirArminius. The first 9 discoveries are there for you and ready to go. So let's talk a little bit about those discoveries. In discovery number 1, when 8-year-old Breckan sneaks into the cellar with his best friend Julie, he finds something he was never meant to see. Years later, a news report brings everything crashing back. In this first discovery, we meet young Breckan and step into the mystery that changes his life forever. Discovery 2. Breckan wakes up in a completely different room with white walls, red curtains, and no way out. His mother delivers shocking news, and he meets his new friend, Zoot. The facility is real, and nothing will ever be the same. Discovery 3. Breckan makes a desperate run for freedom and hits a dead end. In the courtyard below his window, he meets someone very unexpected who can talk. Who would that be? Can't be a normal person. Normal people can talk, right? Plus a chilling discovery about the missing children on milk cartons. Discovery 4. Breckan is given a job cleaning strange tools and finally earns a door handle. That's right, he was in a room with no door handle. He also learns more about Zoot's past and discovers a bright red door hidden behind the towels in his bathroom. What, pray tell, could possibly be behind it? In Discovery 5, Breckan finally learns Zoot's real name and the full story of how he ended up in the facility. The truth about the experiments and what happened to the previous girl who lived in Breckan's room comes out in a powerful conversation. In Discovery 6, Breckan and Zoot make a plan to explore the red door at midnight. We also meet a new arrival named Rizzo and hear the guard's quiet wisdom that things aren't always as easy as they seem. In Discovery 7, at midnight, Breckan and Zoot finally open the red door and descend into a hidden laboratory. What they find there changes everything and forces them to confront a devastating truth. What do you think it was? I guess you'll have to go and check out the recordings or the book to find out, huh? In Discovery 8, Breckan's mother forces him to watch a dangerous mind experiment on Zoot and the new boy Rizzo. The results are terrifying and push Breckan to finally stand up to his parents in a way he never has before. And then finally, in Discovery 9, after the experiment goes wrong, Breckan fights to bring Zoot back. A simple drawing and a pack of playing cards become unexpected lifelines as Breckan, Zoot, and even the guards start forming a real plan. I know, it is all so tantalizing. You want to know. One up Dante DMC. Hello, hello. Welcome on in. And welcome to everybody, no matter what channel you happen to be watching on, whether it is Twitch, YouTube, Kick, X, Rumble, or TikTok. We are everywhere. Ah, yes. And then tonight, we will start in to discovery number 10. Depending on how tonight's going, we might actually finish the book. But guess what? Books 2 through 5 are available on Amazon for you to go and pick up. Or if you miss anything here, you can go and check out the recorded chapters. I've placed all the previous ones on YouTube. All the ones from tonight will also go onto YouTube. Or go buy the book. Support the author. All right, everybody. And because we are late, let's go ahead and just get ourselves rolling, shall we? So, sit back, relax, and prepare to enjoy as we dive into another evening of live reading of indie author books, all for your enjoyment and, of course, supporting indie authors, because that, my friends, is also very important. Just as a quick reminder, if you didn't catch it, I do record all of these. Because I record them all, that means I will answer questions, I will chat with you, I will do whatever you would like in between chapters. But during the chapters, or the discoveries in this case, I will just do the reading, and then we can chat afterwards. All right, everyone? Sound good to you? Sounds good to me. So here we go as we start into discovery number 10, Close Calls and Sharp Teeth. Breckan paced up and down the room thinking. Whenever a new thought occurred to him, he'd stop for a second before shaking his head and moving on. If the thought seemed important, he spoke it out loud. Zoot, he was saying presently, if my mom enters this room, you need to pretend to still be catatonic. I can do that, said Zoot. I can pretend. Not that I think it would take much pretending. I'm still feeling a bit woozy. Good. Not about you feeling woozy, I mean, but about the pretending. There's strength in numbers, and we want her thinking they are as low as possible. Zoot nodded and pretended to stare off in space. It seemed convincing enough, Breckan thought. Just then the door opened, and both boys prayed it was the guard returning with the cage. It was the cage indeed, but it wasn't being carried by the guard. It was carried by Breckan's mother. Zoot kept staring into space, and Breckan swallowed. Hi, Mother. What brings you here? I found my guard, she said, emphasizing the my, snooping around my laboratory. My good-for-nothing husband wasn't doing anything, as usual. She smiled one of her tight-lipped smiles. They didn't see me, of course. I was watching from the hall. So when the guard tried to exit the laboratory, I yanked this cage out of his hands and kicked him inside. I had to barricade the door, of course. Wouldn't want them getting out and hurting themselves. Breckan felt their numbers dwindle. His mother put the cage on the floor and peered inside at the mouse and rat that were sitting in it. But I do wonder, what is so special about this cage? I thought I'd come and ask you. I don't know, lied Breckan. They seem like normal rodents to me. Well, I was just thinking the same. Which means it wouldn't matter if something happened to them, right? I don't see it mattering much, no. Though it would be a waste of test subjects. That is true. Only I think I'm quite done with testing on rats and mice. So, she said, taking off one of her pointy heels, I think I'll just kill them, if you don't mind. Breckin shot a fervent look at Zoot. He was still pretending, but it must have been hard for him. They were trapped. How could they stop his mother from hurting the creatures without it being obvious the mouse was Mo? Think, Breckin, think. I, I'd rather you not ruin my carpet, said Breckin. What a lousy excuse. You'd rather I take them back to the lab and kill them there? I I suppose not, said Breckin. Though can't I keep them as a pet? Sorry, Petal, she said. Breckin watched in horror as she opened the cage and took the rat in her left hand, her stiletto in her right. At least it wasn't Mo, but still, a life was a life. Then suddenly the rat bared its shiny teeth and bit down hard on his mother's hand. "Ah!" she yelped, and let go of the rat, which scuttled away underneath the bed. In the confusion, Breckin quickly took Mo from the cage and held her in his hands. "Damned rat!" said his mother. "Ah, I see you've got the mouse. Now give it to me." "I'd rather not," said Breckin. "I'm feeling a bit opposed to murder today, be it of a rat or a human." His mother flared her nostrils and gave him a fiery look, though she made her lips curl into a smile. "More defiance," said she. "I suppose it was to be expected from an ignorant teenage boy. But you'll see. This philanthropy of you is just a phase. You'll come to see my way as the only way to get ahead in life." "No, Mom, it's not a phase. It's the way I am. You're the one who will come to see that your way will only lead to misery." "Do I look miserable to you?" she said, her hand bleeding and her hair looking disheveled. "You're the one who still hasn't found a way to cure their friend. I want him back in the lab by tomorrow evening, so you'll find a way to fix him. Else, I won't just kill the rats." She exited the door, and both Breckin and Zoot exhaled a shaky breath. This had been too close a call. When they were sure that Breckin's mother was out of earshot, Mo the mouse piped up. "You can come out now, Rizzo." Rizzo? The rat scurried out from underneath the bed. "That was close," said the rat. "Good thing I got these teeth." "Yeah, you're Rizzo," said Breckin. "But how?" I wasn't thinking my thoughts at Boy Einstein over there," he said, pointing one of his little hands at Zoot. "I was more interested in the rat in the cage. I like rats." Rizzo seemed much more talkative now that he was a rodent. "So you became one," said Breckin. "Well, not on purpose, of course, but yes." "I'm glad you're safe at least." "As am I," said Rizzo the rat, and lay down on the carpet. "Could you put me down now?" piped up Mo. "Or at least hand me to Zoot?" Breckin had forgotten he still had Mo the mouse in his hands. Of course," he said, and carefully handed her to Zoot. "Hi," said Mo to Zoot. "Hi," said Zoot, because they didn't need to say anything more. He held her close to his heart, in both the literal and figurative sense of the word. Breckin smiled. They were together again, 4 against 1. And though he wasn't sure how, he knew they'd get out, one way or another. They'd find a way. Together. Ah, they survived! They lived! There will be no killing of the rats. There will be no killing of the mice. But she expects the return of Zoot. I guess we ought to find out in Discovery 11 exactly what happens. Let's go there right now. Discovery number 11. Memories of the Sea. It was late at night and Breckan couldn't sleep. Not surprising, seeing as they didn't have a plan yet to escape. Well, it felt as though time to make one was dwindling fast. He and Zoot lay in the same bed, neither of them wanting to leave the other alone out of fear for what might happen if they did. Breckan turned over and saw Zoot's eyes were open too. "I can't sleep," whispered Breckan. "Me neither," whispered back Zoot. "I'm scared," he admitted. "Me too." Breckan sighed. "It's just that if you still pretend to be catatonic tomorrow, my mom will." He couldn't bring himself to say the words. "Kill me," said Zoot, his voice cracking. "I I know. And yet if I don't, she'll perform another experiment on you." "And I might not survive it," said Zoot. "I don't want you to die," said Breckan. "But what can we do about it?" said Zoot. I I don't know," said Breckan. They went quiet for a while after that. "What we need is to get out of here as soon as possible," said Breckan. "We don't have any keys, nor can any of us pick locks," he eyed Zoot. "Right?" "No," said Zoot, "but I could pick pockets." "Really?" Breckan knew Zoot had lived on the streets, but still he was a bit surprised. "I had to," Zoot shrugged, "but I didn't like it." "I understand. Don't worry. This is good news. But do you think my mom carries the keys with her?" "She can't trust anyone but herself," said Zoot. "Besides, I know she'd put them in the left pocket of her skirt. I've seen her tap it unconsciously a few times today, as if to check they're still there." "Wow, I'm impressed." "Thanks," said Zoot. "Though it's also very risky. If she notices you took them—" "Then we'll have the keys, and it will be too late." Breckan frowned. "Everything we do is risky, Breckan," said Zoot. "That doesn't mean I have to like it." "It's the only plan we have." Breckan pursed his lips, but didn't argue. Zoot continued. "I think I should pretend to be half catatonic. Not so bad that she'll hurt me, but bad enough for her to underestimate me. Then she'll want to take me to the lab, and you will protest. But she won't listen. So you'll demand to at least come with us, and to take the rats with you to the lab, and she'll probably give in to that. And then I will pick her pockets on the way, when we are closest to the exit on the way to the lab, and then we will run." "Can you run?" asked Breckan. "I'll have to." "What if you can't?" "Then you will run, and you'll leave me here." "Zoot, I don't want to hear it." "I can't just let you die," he said, a little too loudly. They held their breath and listened intently, but the air around them stayed quiet. "Then don't. Get help. You've got friends, right?" "Julie? I, I do, but—" You're my friend too," he thought, "and the thought of leaving you alone with that monster? It's too much to bear." But he saw in Zoot's face that it was no use. They had a plan. One plan. And they would have to go through with it. Else they might as well surrender right now. "Zoot," said Breckan quietly, when we get out of here, where would you like to go?" "The beach," whispered Zoot almost immediately. He'd had a while to think about it. Me and my parents, we used to go there all the time when I was a kid, before everything became strained. I used to play in the sand for hours on end." He laughed a soft laugh. Now, I just want to feel the wind on my face and taste the sea as I look at the waves and just exist. That would be nice. It does sound nice, said Breckan, and made a mental note to take Zoot to the beach when they get the chance. And you? Asked Zoot. Where would you want to go? I'd want to go to a lake, said Breckan. Lake Mirkal, to be specific. I go there with Julie and her parents almost every summer, and we swim and run around the forest. One time, Breckan laughed, remembering, we found a little cabin in the woods, and Julie wanted to go in there. I wasn't going to stop her, but we weren't sure if anyone was in there. So Julie made a fake beard of cotton balls to protect her identity. You should have seen the face of the guy who was just peacefully living there when he saw a girl with a big fake white beard on his doorstep. I'll never forget it. She sounds nice, said Zoot. Yeah, said Breckan. We've been friends for ages. I know her better than I know myself, really. Her father is a detective, by the way, which is where she got the talk on identity protection from. He he might be able to help us, if we can find our way to him. I hope we do, said Zoot. I hope so too, said Breckan, and squeezed his hand. We should probably get some sleep. Yeah, said Zoot, and squeezed back. Neither one of them let go as they drifted off into empty dreams. Ooh, so they've got a connection with a detective. Yes. It sounds like Brecken's mother may be in trouble if they can get out. But the real question is, can they? Will it happen? Who knows? Find out next week on Geraldo. Okay, not on Geraldo. That's not what we're doing here. We are reading live together again. Take a quick sip o' a drink. And here we go, diving back in to find out more about discovery number 12, how the other side lives. When you follow a story from one point of view, it can be easy to forget about everyone else. Same as it is when you haven't seen a friend for a while, and you sometimes forget that while you are living your life, they are living theirs at the same time, and have all sorts of things happen. And thus, so it was that while Zoot and Breckan were stuck in the strange facility, Julie was still living her life outside of it. And, ironically, while Brecken's mother felt she was being severely underestimated in her capacities by the government, she was at the same time severely underestimating Julie's capabilities. For when she spun the lie of Brecken's family's sudden move out of town, Julie knew instantly that something was wrong. He left without saying goodbye? She asked her mother. Well, they were in a hurry, sweetie. I'm sure he wanted to. Julie scowled. Oh, I'm so sorry, dear. I know how much you cared for him. But you'll make more friends, I'm sure. Connor and Moxie are nice, and they're still here, aren't they? I invited them once when I was 12, Mom. I never even speak to them anymore. And I don't want to be friends with them. I want to find out what happened to Breckan. He moved, she insisted. I can see why you feel this way now, but I'm sure you'll feel different about it soon, when you realize Breckan won't come back. And why can't I call him? Or have him call me? I'm sure we could keep in touch over the phone. They haven't sorted their SIM cards and phone lines yet, sweetie, but I'm sure he'll call you when they do. Julie sniffed. She didn't want to argue any more, though she knew she was right and her mother was wrong. Breckan had the biggest conscience of anyone she'd ever met. Whenever she'd wanted to put on a disguise and sneak around, he'd be the one to ask, "Are you sure this is all right, Julie?" And she'd be the one to say, "Of course it's all right. There's no law against dressing up and walking around, is there?" And he'd say, "I guess, but make it quick." And she'd say, "Of course, I'll be quick." And they'd spend hours roaming around. He'd never be able to just up and leave. He'd feel too guilty about it. So she decided to dress up once more and go to Brecken's old house. She put on one of her father's suits and a big hat to hide her hair, and a little fake mustache. That would do. A middle-aged black couple opened the door. "Excuse me, but I heard you're new in the area. I'm Jimmy Realtor from Realtor Housing, and I wanted to see whether you'd be interested in buying some insurance." The couple smiled. "You must be Julie, right?" said the lady. "Brecken's friend? We heard the family who lived here before had a son, and a dear family friend." "It must be tough for you to have them move away so suddenly," said the man. "But I assure you, we'll take good care of the house, and we won't be needing any more insurance." "I do not know any Julie," said Julie firmly, "but this family that moved sounds quite interesting. Do you happen to know where they went?" "I'm afraid not," said the man. "We had some contact with the realtor, but not the family directly. And the realtor is not allowed to give away such details. Privacy and all." "Oh, I know all about privacy," said Julie. "You don't have to tell me about that." "It's a shame," said the lady. "Now we have all these comics piling up and nowhere to forward them to." They didn't even forward Brecken's comics? Something was seriously wrong. Julie was even more sure of it now. "Do you want to come in?" said the lady. "We could have some tea and biscuits, and you could tell us about the neighborhood. We've got a son as well, though he's a few years younger than you, but maybe you could still play together." "No, I'm no time, I'm afraid," said Julie, swallowing. "But I appreciate the offer. Busy work day ahead." And with that, Julie was off again. Strange how the pavement looked so blurry, and how the house looked so different, even though it hadn't changed at all. Julie needed a plan, and fast. She sat down on a park bench, ripped off her mustache quickly like a band-aid, and placed a hat down next to her. And then she thought, "Breckan, Breckan, where did you go?" She felt angry, for even though in her heart she knew something was deeply wrong, it still hurt that he left her. How could she make a plan when her schemer in arms was away? She thought about Breckan and all the things she knew about him. His favorite food, his favorite shirt, the way he laughed, even the way he cried. The way she knew no one like him, and the way in which she liked no one like the way she liked him. No, not that way. At least, she thought. Ugh, no use in thinking about it now. She needed to find him, and fast, before something bad happened, if it hadn't already happened. But nothing she knew about Breckan held a clue as to where he could have gone. So then she thought about his parents. What did she know about them? She knew they were quite well off. She knew they watched soaps. She didn't know a whole lot about them, now that she came to think about it. They were away at work so often, and when they came back, they were often rather distant. And they smelled. Not in a gross kind of way, just a very distinct kind of way. They smelled like salt. They smelled like the sea. It wasn't much, but at least she had a way to go forward now. She put her hat and mustache back on and set off towards the beach. "Hey, kind sir," she spoke to the first fisherman she saw. "Does something at this beach smell fishy to you?"
Eh, oh, it's you, Julie. Hardly recognized you, with all that on your face.
"I don't know any Julie," said Julie. "But pray tell me, good man, have you seen anything suspicious around these parts?"
Well, I must admit the fish have been getting scarcer. I think someone might be fishing in the same pool without a license, if you know what I mean. That or something has scared the little buggers off.
"And what could that be?"
Hi, who knows? Anything from too much salt to too little wind, to the tide being wrong or the water getting polluted by them plastics.
Said Julie, not having a clue what to do with this information. "Well, I bid thee good luck, and will be on my way. I've got bigger fish to fry." And with that she left the fisherman to be, who shook his head in bemusement. He felt he would never fully understand the youth of today. After that, Julie kept coming to the beach in disguise whenever she could, and asked around. None of the fishermen ever had any good info, but she kept coming anyway. She couldn't just give up. Not on Breckan. So after a week or so, when she herself didn't even know what to ask them anymore, she investigated the area around the beach and the port, venturing a little further each time. Her legs got quite sore of all the walking, but she took the pain in stride. She had to be on to something, she was sure. And then she got lucky. One day, after walking about 2 hours away from the busy part of the beach, the furthest she'd gone yet, into an area where hardly anyone ever roamed, she happened upon an industrial terrain. At first glance, it looked abandoned, an old relic from another era long forgotten by anyone but the oldest in the town. But then she noticed something. A small flicker of light from behind one of the upstairs windows. And she smiled. She knew she was right. This had to be it. Because if it wasn't, she was out of options. And that was not a notion she was going to entertain. She knew she had to be careful now. The wrong move and everything could be lost. She knew she needed proof that something was going on in here. More proof than just a flicker of light that could be a trick of the eye. So she waited, despite her impatience. She knew she could not just barge in here and pretend to be a salesman. This wasn't dressing up for fun anymore. It was for something bigger than herself. For almost another week, she went there every day, her mom's old camera in hand in case there was anything worth taking a picture of, which there never was. Julie was almost starting to doubt herself, but then something happened that relit her determination. One day, as she was walking towards the beach, she happened upon the man who lived inside Brecken's old house. He looked as though he was searching for something, and peeked behind every dumpster and tree. "Hey," said Julie, "are you looking for something?"
My son, said the man, panting. I let him go to the general store alone, and now I can't find him no more.
"What does he look like?" she asked.
About yay high, he said, and raised his palm a ways up above the ground. Quite skinny. Shy unless you talk to him about something he likes. If he goes off on a tangent about some animal or another, you'll know it's him.
"I'll look for him," said Julie, as an uneasy pit was forming in her stomach. First Breckan, now him? Could the two be connected? Whatever the case, she had to keep looking. For the boys, the parents, and for herself.
Thank you, said the man.
With a nod, Julie was off towards the beach again. She had to be close now. She had to. Still, nothing special happened that day. Or the next. But then came the day that would change everything. The day Breckan and Zoot, unaware of the ally hiding in the shadows a few dozen yards away, instigated their plan. Their plan of escape. So, the industrial area where they took Breckan to is in the same town? I figured they must have left the area, gone somewhere far away, but no. They are still quite close, my friends. And what does that mean for us and our intrepid heroes? Who knows? We will find out in Discovery number 13. Expectations versus reality.
How's this?
Zoot asked Breckan, and unfocused his eyes slightly. He was sitting on Breckan's bed, his legs dangling over the edge. Breckan was standing across from him.
Looks all right, said Breckan grudgingly, fidgeting with his shirt. But still, Zoot?
What? It's not safe?
Yes, I know. We've been over this.
Breckan never saw Zoot look so defiant before. He swallowed and decided that if anything were to go wrong during their escape, did he really want to have argued with his friend beforehand? No.
I'm sorry, said Breckan. You're right. I just hope it goes well.
I hope so too, said Zoot, and Breckan saw Zoot's fear simmer behind his defiance. Breckan thought he should say something else. Anything, to show that he cared. But he didn't know what. Finally, he reached out for Zoot's hand, and just with the sound of the door opening made him freeze. Zoot quickly unfocused his eyes. "Well, dear," said his mother from the doorway, looking as though she'd barely slept, "have you fixed him? He still looks pretty broken to me."
I...
Breckan swallowed. "Calm down. Stick to the plan."
I have fixed him. He seems to be a bit more responsive, though not much.
Breckan had a sudden idea.
He seems to register the rodents when I put them close to him. I think he just needs a little more time, and then he'll be his old self again.
"We don't have any more time," yelled his mother. "He needs to come with me to the lab right now." Zoot had been right about his mother's intentions. So far, so good.
You can't be serious. Look at the state of him.
"Would you rather I kill him now and be done with it?" She spat the words like venom.
No, of course not. But please, at least let me come with you. I want to know he's all right. And let me bring the rats. They might still bring him out of this state.
She narrowed her eyes into evaluating slits. "Fine. I don't see the harm in that. But you better not be playing any tricks on me, boy."
I wouldn't dream of it.
He gently scooped up Mo and Rizzo in his hands, and felt his stomach turn as he saw his mother forcefully pull Zoot up by his arm. Zoot's legs looked shaky, and Breckan didn't think it was part of the act. He walked a few paces behind his mother and Zoot, trying to keep his pace and breathing steadily. Vaguely, he wondered if his father and the guard would still be locked in the laboratory, and if so, how his mother planned on getting into the laboratory without releasing them. Maybe he didn't want to know. Then he saw Zoot make his move. If he hadn't been paying attention, he could have missed it. The hand on Zoot's ungripped arm slowly moved, then suddenly and quietly shot downwards and to the side. When his arm shot back, there was something glistening in his hand. Brecken allowed himself a smile when he saw his mother continue to saunter on as though nothing had happened. They held the keys now. Now all they had to do was start sprinting at the right moment. But then, right in the corridor before the open space where they wanted to start running, Zoot's mother bent down to take off her stilettos. Zoot looked a bit wobbly at the sight of their pointy heels, but they couldn't just sprint past her. She blocked the corridor with her kneeling frame, and she could easily grab one of their ankles. For though she was unclasping her shoes, she kept her eyes trained on Zoot, as though to say, "Don't you dare." "Right," she said. "Can you understand me?" Zoot nodded vaguely. "Good. I am going to take one of these and put it to your throat. I won't press it down too hard, as long as my silly husband and that awful security guard don't make a move and force me to use it on you. Do you understand me?" Zoot nodded again, looking as though he was going to be sick, but keeping up the act. "Good." She slowly stood up. "Hang on." She cocked her head to one side. "Is that what I think it is?" She cast one look at Zoot's hand. And then, suddenly and without warning, she took one of her stilettos and plunged it into Zoot's stomach. "Ah!" Zoot yelled in blind panic and put his hands to the wound. Brecken was frozen to the spot. He hardly noticed Mo sprinting away from his hands. "Ah! Ah!" His shirt was turning a deep red. Then he gave Brecken a wild look, a look so fierce, so serious, so desperate. "Run!" Zoot removed one hand from his stomach and flung the keys towards Brecken. They skidded away to his side on the floor. Brecken unfroze and scrambled to get them. He felt the cold and wet metal in his hands and clasped it so tightly it hurt. Then he looked up and saw Zoot's eyes lose their focus. Not pretend this time. His mother towered over him with a wicked grin. Brecken wasn't sure whether she thought she was losing or winning. But it didn't matter. Nothing mattered now, and yet everything did. In these moments that felt like seconds and like years, and like scars for years to come. As Zoot finally lost consciousness and slumped to the ground, he made one final grab for Brecken's mother. It was a desperate, only enough to throw her off balance for a moment, but she regained herself before Brecken could make his move. She turned to him, a menacing glint in her eye. "You insolent little— Ah!" Mo had bitten her in the ankle, and she jumped up, clutching it. Before she had fully regained herself, Brecken rushed past her, Rizzo in one hand and the keys in the other. His legs feeling weak and tears in his eyes, yet enough adrenaline in his veins to see him through. In a flurry of fear, he went through doors and corridors, shakily putting the right keys in the right locks until he smelled the scent of sea and saw the sky above him. Then, unable to go on any longer, he broke down. Wow. Brecken's mom is kind of a bitch, huh? What a not nice person. Of course, we all kinda knew that already. But what we didn't know was discovery number 14, the Mind Scene Society. Brecken's sobs were racking his body, and he felt as though they would never stop. "You still can't save me." He knew he needed to get away, to run as fast as he could, but all he could do was cry in a dilapidated heap. Suddenly, he felt a hand being placed softly upon his shoulder. "Brecken?" That voice. He looked up. "Julie?" He saw her face, framed by a large top hat.
Why are you wearing a mustache? Oh, that. I'm sorry. She took off her mustache and hat, and Brecken's tears started flowing even harder at the sight of his long-lost friend. She held him tight for a moment. I've missed you, he croaked. I'm here now, she said, starting to leak as well. You're going to be all right. Then she broke the hug. She kept her hands on his arms, as though to steady him. Brecken, what happened? Where are your parents? And then, softer, Did did they hurt you? Not me. Him. She she stabbed him, Julie. She stabbed my friend. He shook her hands off, wiped his eyes, and stood up hastily. We have to go. She she could go after us. She's dangerous, and she has Zoot. Is he your friend? Brecken nodded shakily. We have to get help. We will, she said. Let's go. Brecken had nearly forgotten all about Rizzo the rat, who had been watching the scene from a distance, not sure what to do or say, until they'd started to talk about leaving. Then he ran up Brecken's leg and body till he came to rest on his shoulder. Julie gave Brecken a bewildered look, but decided the time to ask questions was not now. First, they had to get away. The two, technically three, of them ran as fast as they could, Brecken sometimes needing to stop and catch his breath now that the adrenaline had worked out and fatigue was setting in. During one of these moments, when they were well away from the facility, yet still not in the inhabited part of town, Brecken spoke in between gasps of air. I left them. Zoot, Mo, the guard, even my father. I should have done so much more. Julie looked serious, but at the same time a smile was playing on her lips. Brecken, you haven't changed a bit, have you? I haven't? That's good to hear, I suppose. But still, You've done all you could. I'm sure of it. You always do. Thanks, he said, and nearly started crying anew. But instead he set off on a sprint, and Julie went after him. They sprinted all the way till Julie's house, where a light burned behind the window to cast away the darkness the clouds in the sky had brought upon the town. To Brecken, it looked like home. Julie's father opened the door, looking bewildered. Brecken, my boy, I thought you'd moved away. Brecken began shakily, but Julie quickly jumped in. He's in trouble, Dad. His mom stabbed his friend. Her father's eyes grew round like petri dishes. Oh, my, you'd better come in then. He ushered them inside. What happened? He asked, looking Brecken in the eye and putting his hands on Brecken's arms, the way Julie had done before. Basically, Brecken said in a voice that was too high a pitch, my mother ran a strange facility where she and my father took kids from the streets and performed experiments on them, and she didn't care if the kids got hurt, and they stole art to finance their experiments. What kind of experiments? Brecken hesitated, not sure if Julie's father would believe him, or if he would think it was a child's fantasy. If you can recall, he added gently. They were mind experiments. They tried to get the kids to read each other's minds. To Brecken's surprise, Julie's father's face fell. Oh, no. It's the Mind Seeing Society. Huh? We've been after them for a while now. They are a very dangerous group of individuals, set to unravel the mysteries of the mind and stretch its capabilities. Well, their cause may sound compelling, Their methods haven't always been ethical. That's why they mostly operate underground, and why we haven't been able to catch many of them. We hardly know more than their name and their motto: cultivate, communicate, control. To think two of their members were right under my nose all these years, and I didn't see it. I'm deeply sorry, Breckan, that it had to come this far.
That's okay, said Breckan in a small voice. Now, will you help us?
Yes, yes, of course. Come, sit down while I call my colleagues.
Breckan, looking decidedly pale, sat down on the sofa, Julie next to him. She squeezed his hand, and he gave her a weary smile. Her father was pacing up and down the room, phone to his ear.
Yes. Hi, this is him. We need a team. At least 3, I'd wager. CCC. Yes, you heard me correctly. There's been a stabbing. Where?
He looked at Breckan and Julie questioningly. Old industrial terrain on the beach, said Julie.
Old industrial terrain. Beach, said her father. No, indeed. No paved roads that way, I'm afraid. We'll have to go slow enough for it to be safe, yet fast enough that we'll get there on time. Let's meet at the oldest trout cafe, and we'll go from there. I'll question the witnesses as I go. No time to waste. Yes, goodbye.
He hung up. So we're going to the industrial place? Asked Julie.
I'm going there, said her father. You'll both be looked after in the oldest trout.
Julie gave him a defiant look, but kept dumb. She took Brecken's hand and gently pulled him up from the couch, Rizzo still on his shoulder, and then they all went outside. On their way to the oldest trout, they passed very few people. The sky was looking decidedly gray, and rain seemed imminent, so most preferred to stay inside safely on such an occasion. Only one man was still roaming around the neighborhood, looking for his son.
Dad!
Shouted Rizzo suddenly. The rat speaks? Exclaimed Julie, whilst her father looked equally perplexed. The wandering man looked up.
Son, where are you?
Dad, I'm here! Rizzo jumped down from Brecken's shoulder and ran towards him.
Albie, is that really you? He asked. What happened?
No time. We have to go help my friends. Albie's father looked at the 3 people standing behind his son.
Ah, Julie, I seem to see you found your friend. I'm glad. Thank you for finding my son, though he isn't yay high anymore, I suppose.
He held his hand up a ways above the ground and chuckled. Julie, who was just putting 2 and 2 together, smiled and said, I told you I would look for him, didn't I? Albie ran up his father's shoulder and settled there. Right, let's be off, he squeaked. I don't want to be outside when the rain starts. Breckan, who had been a bit fidgety during this exchange, however glad he was for this reunion, nodded gratefully at the chance of getting away, at the chance of getting closer to saving Zoot. And so they set off again, hoping this reunion was a sign things would turn out all right after all. See, here I was worried that Julie's father was also a member and was notifying the wrong people that Julie and Breckan had found out about them. Now, we don't know if that's not the case at the moment, but hey, what we do know for sure, excuse me, sorry about that, is that now we will start with discovery number 15. Friends stick together. Breckan, Julie, Albie, or Trafcar, the rat formerly known as Rizzo, and Albie's father sat together in the oldest trout cafe, waiting for an update from Julie's father and his crew. On the way to the cafe, Breckan had answered any questions Julie's father had about the situation. What did Zoot look like? Were there any other captives? What was the layout of the facility? By the time they'd come to the entrance of the cafe, Julie's father knew all he needed to know and set off with his crew. While they waited, Albie and his father were in lively conversation with one another. Albie explained how he'd gotten captured on his way back from the candy store, as well as everything that followed after, and his father exclaimed things such as, "Ah! Ho! My! You don't say!" Meanwhile, an uncomfortable silence hung around Julie and Breckan, Julie studying the way her friend tensed his shoulders and twiddled his thumbs, leaving his cup of tea and biscuits untouched. Julie's father had only been gone for 20 minutes or so, when all of a sudden, Breckan slammed his hands on the table and stood up. "Right, I'm done here. I can't just sit by and wait. I'm going to the industrial terrain." He cast a look at Julie, who looked like she was about to object. "You can't change my mind," he added. "I wasn't going to try," she said. "But I am going to make you drink your tea and eat those biscuits before we leave." "We?" he asked, raising his eyebrows. "Come on, Breckan. You didn't think I'd let you leave all alone now. I've just got you back, did you?" Well, that was a quick chapter. I was expecting there to be more in there, and there was not. All right, here we go. Right into discovery number 16, a dental chair. When Zoot woke up, he lay in a chair. It was one of those dentist chairs that can be reclined all the way back. This one was at a slight angle, though almost flat. His head felt heavy, and he was in quite a bit of pain. "My stomach hurts," he croaked. Brecken's mother appeared in his line of vision. "Of course your stomach hurts, you idiot boy. You've been stabbed there." "You tried to kill me," said Zoot. "You're going to kill me." "I can't believe you just said that," exclaimed Brecken's mother in mock exasperation. "I didn't try to kill you. I tried to stop you. And I'm not going to kill you now. I'm just going to experiment on you." Tears started falling from Zoot's eyes as he saw her grab another one of those strange helmets. "Please, don't. I can't take another experiment." "We'll see about that," said Brecken's mother, and put the helmet on Zoot's head. And then she turned it on. An electrical current unlike Zoot had ever felt before raged through his body. It hurt everywhere, but especially in his stomach and head. He opened his mouth to scream, but before he produced any sound, he felt himself being pulled away into nothing. He fainted, lying limply on the chair. Brecken's mother turned off the machine and poked Zoot's still body. "Pity," she said. "Well, I think it's high time I ditched this place." And then she walked away. In the corner of the room there had been a little mouse who had seen everything, not knowing what to do out of fear she might make things worse for her friend. That mouse was, of course, Mo, who felt as though she couldn't have possibly made the situation any worse. She scuttled her way up the chair, muttering to him, "Please, Zoot, don't go." Then she settled down on his chest, feeling his soft heartbeat flutter underneath her fur. "I'm here." Well, just keep on moving on. Quick chapters here at the end. With discovery number 17, the function of neurons. It had started to rain. Breckan cursed the sky as the water turned the already tricky to navigate dirt road into an even harder to navigate sludge. But still he and Julie pressed on. Their bones started to ache as the rain seeped through their clothes and made them cold and heavy. But still, he and Julie pressed on. Breckan felt his breathing becoming strained, and his mind was spinning. But still, he and Julie pressed on until they saw the all too familiar industrial terrain appear on the horizon. Then Breckan felt all his aches fade away and had only Zoot in his mind. They ignored the shouts of Julie's father's crew, a few of which were standing outside, and ran into the building. Breckan knew where to go. He ran to the laboratory where he'd seen Zoot and Rizzo change bodies, but found that the door was still closed and that Julie's father's crew was trying to get it open without much success. What if they didn't get it open in time? Breckan shuddered at the thought. But then again, it wouldn't make sense for the door to still be barricaded. Not if Zoot and his mom had gone in there after she had locked the guard and his father in there. Unless she'd locked herself and Zoot in there as well. She seemed desperate enough, but still it was odd to say the least. As he heard Julie come up behind him, he realized. "They're not here," he said. "Come with me." He took Julie by the hand and quickly led her away, through hallways, doors, and corridors, up the stairs and into the bathroom. Julie raised her eyebrows at the towels that were strewn all over the floor, but Breckan smiled a furtive smile, knowing he had been right in his thinking. Whatever his mother had done to Zoot, he would find out once he went through the door in the towel closet. He swallowed, his hands shaking, opened the bright red door, and stepped onto the stairs. He had to steady himself by putting his right hand to the wall, as he looked down and saw Zoot, lying motionless in a tilted dentist's chair. His mother was nowhere to be seen. Breckan felt as though it wasn't real. As though he wasn't really seeing his friend with his eyes closed and face pale. It felt as though he was looking through a window and into a different reality, because this reality was too much to bear. Zoot's palms were red, just like in the dream. "You still can't save me." "Breckan?" He felt Julie's hand gently being placed upon his shoulder. It shook him out of his stupor, and he shouted, "He's here! Zoot's here! Julie's father!" He then shakily went down the stairs, his knees finally giving out at the bottom. He wanted so badly to go to him, but he couldn't. He hardly noticed Julie scooping up the little mouse gently in her hands. He watched as Julie's father's crew came and carried Zoot away. The trek back to the town center was fraught with worry, yet the wait in the hospital's waiting room was even more anxious. Julie's father came into the room from time to time to keep Breckan and Julie updated. His crew had finally gotten open the door to the lab and taken the guard and Breckan's father in custody, but his mother was still nowhere to be found. One of the crew's members had recognized Zoot's face from the milk cartons and called his parents. It turned out they had gone abroad for a while to distract themselves from the desperation of missing their son, but would come back on the first flight that would take them. Albie and his father had gone home to reunite him with his mother. Julie's father didn't try to make Breckan and Julie go home, because he knew they wouldn't. Mo rested on Julie's lap. Finally, after the sun had gone down and nearly rose again, a woman in a lab coat came into the room, with the power to either give them relief or shatter their hopes. "He's stable," she said. "Unconscious, yet stable." "Thank you," said Breckan, dizzying relief flooding through him. "May I ask? What's wrong with him?" The doctor smiled a kind smile. "Well, he was stabbed, but I think you already knew that, didn't you?" Breckan winced and nodded. "As for the rest, his body behaves as though it has been struck by a lightning, by a very strong electric current. That is, but strangely enough, a quite precise lightning, especially in his brain. Very specific areas of neurons have been affected there, as though it was planned. What do neurons do? Asked Julie. Many things, said the doctor. They carry information throughout the body, you see. Say, if I were to poke you in the arm, the neurons would tell the brain that you've been poked there. But say, if I was thinking I wanted to move my arm, the neurons will tell the muscle in my arm to contract. And suits are broken? Asked Breckan, his voice sounding strained. Damaged, she said, a regretful look in her eyes. But yes. That's not good, is it? She shook her head. It isn't, no, I won't lie. But his heart is beating, and his lungs are breathing, so now there isn't much to do but wait and hope the damage isn't too severe. Breckan looked down. He hated this powerless feeling. You could visit him if you wanted, the doctor offered. Usually we only allow next of kin, but seeing as his family won't be here yet for a while, I'm sure he could use the company. Would you want to? Yes, said Breckan softly, even though he also felt terrified at the thought of seeing him like that again, without having the means to help. But doing anything was better than doing nothing. Thank you. She led him down the corridor, leaving Julie and Mo behind. They arrived at Zoot's room. The plate on the door said, Richard Flanagan. The doctor put a hand on his shoulder and gave him another rueful smile. I'll wait here, she said. Take all the time you need. Breckan nodded and took a few breaths to steady himself. Then he went inside. And there he was. Zoot. Breckan felt his breathing speed up as he saw his friend again. Motionless, powerless, broken. A machine beeped through the silence that hung in the stale hospital air, showing his steady heartbeat. Ever so slowly, Breckan went to Zoot's side. He put his hand over his, hoping Zoot could feel it. He stood like that for a while, until he found the courage to say the words that were on his mind. I'm sorry, Zoot. I'm so sorry I couldn't save you. But you did save me, a voice sounded in his head. Breckan looked around to see who had spoken, but the only other person in the room was Zoot, and he had his eyes and mouth closed. Zoot? You heard me? Then I guess in a way it worked. My mother's invention? Breckan wasn't sure whether to laugh or cry. Yes, but it seems to only work when I am between dreaming and waking. I couldn't do it before. You're between dreaming and waking? Breckan asked, his voice rising up, almost not daring to hope. Yes. And then Breckan saw Zoot's eyes move underneath his eyelids, and slowly, very slowly, it really was happening, Zoot opened his eyes, blinking sleepily. Hi, mouthed Zoot without sound. Hi, because that was all they needed to say. 2 months later. It was a windy day, but they didn't mind. Breckan and Julie had picked up Zoot from the rehabilitation center, Julie carrying Albie and Mo in her hands, Breckan pushing Zoot in his chair, which proved quite a challenge the closer they got to the sandy beach. But sooner or later they'd found themselves face to face with the sea, and felt the breeze in their faces. Things had been going all right since that day, as all right as they could possibly be in these circumstances anyway. Zoot had had to relearn almost everything, because everything was damaged in a way. He still knew how to talk, and think, and remember things, but it was difficult to get his voice to speak and his arms and legs to move in the way he wanted to. He'd been reunited with his parents, and he told Breckan that it had gone better than he expected. Things were still a bit weird between them, but his parents had realized when he ran away just how much they really cared about him, and Zoot had learned the same. His parents called him Richard, of course. "Do you want me to call you Richard, too?" Breckan had asked him, thinking he might want to forget the name his mother had coined him. I'm not sure," had said Zoot, pulling a face. "That's okay," had said Breckan. "We'll figure it out." Albie's parents, though they'd gotten him back as a rodent, were delighted to be reunited with their son. They'd also taken in Mo, who didn't really have anywhere to go, and presently they played together in the sand at the edge of the sea. Mo and Albie hoped to be able to turn back into their human forms sometime, knowing rats and mice didn't live forever, and nor could they really hold a pencil or play video games. Their bodies had been stored in a safe place by the crew, in case they ever figured out how to change back. And as for Breckan, Julie's parents had been more than happy to shelter him, now that one of his parents was in jail and the other was on the run. Breckan still thought about all that had happened often, with much fear and regret, but at least he had a home and friends. Albie's parents finally had a place to forward his comics to, and he could finally sleep in a familiar house again. And so it was, as they all watched the waves and tasted the sea on the wind blowing in their faces, that they were happy. Happy to just exist. For though Zoot would still have a long way to go in his recovery, and though Albie and Mo were still rats and mice, and though Breckan's mother was still out there and things were far from all right, they knew things would be okay in the end. Because they were on the beach, and they were alive, and because they had each other. And we're almost at the end, guys. One thing left to listen to, and here we go. Let's find out about something yet undiscovered. The industrial terrain stood abandoned, a relic of the past and the miseries of recent times. Yet there was one living soul who roamed around the premises, inspecting, looking, and sighing. It seemed there wasn't much left to salvage. Most of the equipment had been taken into custody. The society wasn't going to be thrilled about this, especially not since the gear had been taken away by her husband. But what could she have done? Her husband was a good detective at times, yet never saw what was right under his nose. And she liked to keep it that way. That way his cases were easiest to manipulate. Just about the only thing they'd left behind was a crude drawing of that despicable boy, Richard Flanagan. Julie's mother bent down and picked up the drawing, then crumpled it up in her hands. "You've really messed it up this time, haven't you?" she muttered, though her colleague had fled the premises for a long while now. "I suppose I should clean up your mess." Breckan and Co. will return. All right, everyone. That was Breckan and Co. Strange Discoveries Volume 1, The Facility, by Vita Luna. Vita Luna, nee Vita Luna Jansen, wrote her first book, Love and Loss in Camden, together with Dion before publishing her first solo novel, Daniel, David, and Denise. The Facility had already been writing in 2020 for a writing challenge, and has now been polished and published for the first time. She lives in the Netherlands with her mom and 2 fat cats. As a graduate of English literature, she hopes to have a shelf filled with her own books someday. And everybody, we have reached the end. I hope you enjoyed this reading of Breckan and Co.'s Strange Discoveries, Volume 1. Volumes 2 through 5 are available on Amazon. If you missed any part of Volume 1, you can check it out on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@SirArminius. Or, of course, book number 1 is also available on Amazon for your reading pleasure. Please make sure you get out there and support the author. We do, especially on this channel, love to support our indie author friends. If you have listened all the way through, make sure you leave a review on the book. Best way for an author to be discovered? Reviews. Other than that, thank you all so much for coming along to spend a little bit of time with me this evening. I hope you enjoyed. I will be back again later this week. At the very least, I will be back on Saturday, where we will start a whole new book. I hope you come along for the ride. As always, a big thank you to all of you. The greatest gift that you can give me is the gift of your time, and I appreciate that you guys gave me the gift of yours this evening, whether it was for 5 minutes or for the full read. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you stop out to the YouTube channel and subscribe. It's free, and you will get notified when I go live with my next reading. Have a wonderful evening, a fantastic week ahead, and I look forward to seeing you guys all again really soon. Good night, everybody.